Well, John, thanks so much for taking time out.
Yeah.
We have a lot of people who are interested to learn more about Origin. And, let's kick it off. Maybe a quick intro yourself and the company.
Yeah, my name is John Hardy, and I'm the head of business development here at Origin, where we are building a set of open source protocols that will eventually enable true peer-to-peer commerce. And we are focused on marketplaces and specifically the fractional usage of assets, so sharing economies like today's Airbnbs or Ubers.
Got it. And you guys are based on, you guys are building it on the Ethereum blockchain?
Yeah, our stack is the Ethereum blockchain, and then we use IPFS, the Interplanetary File System, for distributed file storage. And we use JSON schema as well for client-side validation.
Got it. Got it. Can you give us an example of just in terms of when you talk about marketplaces, fractional sharing and fractional ownership, like what are some of these objects or services or that you think would exist in your marketplaces?
As far as like what types of assets are people going to be sharing, that sort of thing. Got it. Yeah, so first to say that we are really not focused on any particular vertical. So we are more of a horizontal play at the protocol layer. So we want to enable the next home sharing, car sharing, bike sharing type of marketplace to be built completely decentralized and peer-to-peer. So you don't have to rely on a centralized company to store all the data and match you with the homeowner or the driver, etc. So these are typically the things that come to mind on bike sharing, home sharing, car sharing. The other side of it that doesn't usually come to mind when hearing about fractional usage of assets is a freelancer marketplace, for example. So, if I have 8 hours in my day, I may want to, sell 2 hours of that to one person or 2 weeks of that to another person. So we see the freelancer marketplaces being a big play here as well.
Interesting. And in terms of all these services, if you think about the existing analogs that exist in the existing online marketplaces, right? A lot of them exist. When you pitch either the buyers or sellers why your platform is better than existing platforms out there that are centralized and web-based, what are the big differentiations? Is it cost? Is it something else? Is it trust? Or is it something else?
Yeah, there's a lot, and I guess to set the stage properly, this isn't something that's going to happen overnight. Of course, I think these traditional marketplaces have done a really, really great job of bringing this new way of using these assets to the masses. So, they've solved some really important problems, and I want to be pretty clear that's not something we'll be able to do overnight. But that being said, there are a lot of problems that we see that come when these companies get really big and they essentially turn into these monopolies that have a lot of leverage, and in a lot of cases, they use that leverage to do things like raise the fees that they are charging both sides of the marketplace. So that is kind of the one most tangible thing that comes to mind is we can help lower these fees that are being taken by these rent-seeking middlemen by allowing true peer-to-peer commerce. So that's one piece. But there are certainly others that are very, very important to us. So censorship is one of them. There are a lot of markets out there that, and local governments, for example, that are able to censor things very easily because there's a single point of failure. So one example of that is in Airbnb's example, San Francisco basically came to Airbnb and forced them to remove 50% of their listings. They were able to do so very quickly because there's one company to go after to remove these listings. Whereas in this distributed world, it's going to be much harder for a regulatory body to actually enforce these types of regulations and censorship. So we see that being one of the big values that we're able to add as well. Additionally, I would like to mention kind of the users of these types of services or potential users that actually cannot use them. So there's billions of people in the world that are essentially unbanked. They don't have access to traditional financial mechanisms like credit cards or bank accounts. And these are things that are required to use Airbnb and Uber. So down later in the future, we see that some of these 2 billion unbanked may end up using one of these sharing economy marketplaces without having to use a credit card or bank account, and rather leveraging cryptocurrency or something like that. So that's another one that definitely comes to mind. And then I'd say the last one is we believe this can allow a better and more fair distribution of value. So the first 100 Uber drivers are probably still driving Uber today, and a lot of times making less than they were when they first joined. They're not able to participate in the growth of the network, and we're really bullish on what token economics can bring to that conversation.
That's interesting. And are you seeing, when you talk about token economics in those cases, are you seeing that if there was an Airbnb equivalent that gets built on top of Origin, do you foresee them having their own tokens that sits on top of Origin's tokens? Is that how you think about it?
Not necessarily, but it's something that we are building about. So many of our partners that have already committed to building on top of Origin will have their own tokens. And token interaction is something that we're definitely thinking a lot about. Our token isn't actually really a transfer of value or a payment mechanism primarily. It has some other purposes, which we're certainly happy to go into. But a lot of these partners that are building on top of Origin, that is the primary use of their token. So we certainly will need to allow for some token interaction, and we think about this as something that's probably going to happen behind the scenes. So just like you would go to Amazon today and click, buy, there's a lot happening behind the scenes. It's involving credit card companies and Twilio and AWS, and all these people are getting their piece. You as the consumer, you click button, you get your thing. So we think down the future that's going to probably be what happens, because there's certainly going to be multiple tokens involved, not just ours and the partner's token potentially, but also Filecoin for IPFS usage. We are probably going to integrate with other solutions that help with things like insurance and escrow and dispute resolution, and they may all have their own tokens as well. So there needs to be a good model for that token interaction to happen in the background.
And in those cases, is the vision that ultimately the Origin token sort of becomes the common currency between that you need. If I were to build a marketplace on top of Origin, I would need Origin's tokens to essentially access these services, these ancillary services, to power my marketplace. And so, is that kind of how you guys think about it?
Yeah, that's definitely one piece of it. So there's, on the incentivization side for our tokens, there's basically two sides. There's the positive incentives, things like, we want to reward people for leaving a review, for referring buyers and sellers to the platform, etc. But on the other side, we want to make sure there are disincentives in place as well. And the main mechanism for that is staking. So in order to post a listing onto an Origin-powered marketplace, you'll need to stake some tokens. And this will help for things like fighting fraud, etc., and making sure that the listing data is accurate. And if it's not, and somebody wants to challenge that, then potentially the person that posted that listing can lose their tokens.
Got it.
So it's going to be up to the partners. They may decide that they're going to be the ones that stake all the tokens for their listings. They may pass that on to the user in some way. A little bit of that's still to be determined.
Got it. And where are you guys in terms of your roadmap right now today?
Yeah, so on the product side, we have on testnet. So I would encourage everybody who's interested to go check it out at demo.originprotocol.com. It's very much a proof of concept, so it's not a fully baked platform by any means, but it does showcase the ability to have a truly decentralized peer-to-peer marketplace. So although it actually feels a lot like a normal web application that you would interact with today, it's actually, it doesn't have a server, it doesn't have a database, and it's really truly peer-to-peer. So that's what I would say is kind of a good place for people to start if they want to see what we have today. We make it out a little bit better, build in some more scheduling mechanisms and other features that are specific to the fractional usage of assets, and that's what's coming kind of in our next phase. So as far as what's next, we're going to continue to bake that out. This decentralized application is essentially built on top of our developer tools. And those developer tools are, number one, a JavaScript library, and number two, a library of smart contracts. And the idea here is that not a lot of developers out there know Solidity. They don't know how to interact with the blockchain, et cetera. But most of them do actually know JavaScript. So we want to make it very easy for a lot of developers to use something that they know, JavaScript, and be able to build a decentralized marketplace and interact with the blockchain. So that's one of the big pushes right now, is to get these developer tools out.
Interesting. So that's the piece that I think right. So in addition to the core services that power the marketplaces, right? You guys are abstracting also away the Solidity. No one can hire enough Solidity guys out there. I see. Got it. Just
we think about it a lot like a Stripe JS type of play, where you want to make it very developer centric, very developer friendly, and even a kind of an amateur or hobbyist developer can build a very simple, basic, decentralized marketplace using these developer tools.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That's really interesting. And do you see sort of your core, ultimately your core audience and Origin sort of core customers are upstarts or sort of new companies that are like, hey, we can build a better marketplace on a decentralized infrastructure on Origin? Or do you also think that the existing players that are sort of centralized may ultimately, over time, start migrating away from a centralized approach to either Origin or some other decentralized approach?
Yeah, definitely. So the answer is actually both, and really everything in the middle. So we've actually signed over 40 partners that have committed to building on Origin, and we've seen that, there certainly are a lot of new upstarts that are thinking about these marketplaces completely in a decentralized fashion from the very beginning, which we love. That's aligns very well with our mission. But we also have gotten a ton of interest on the other side of the spectrum, which is, hey, we already have a traditional marketplace. We already have users, we already have listings, etc. And we also are pretty aware that blockchain in some way is probably going to disrupt our business. So we want to start having these conversations early. We want to start putting together some pilot projects so that we can figure out kind of where this is going and start doing the R&D now. And what we found is it's likely going to be that the decentralization happens in phases, right? It's not that everything immediately is going to get switched to a decentralized platform, but rather maybe they start by putting their listings, just getting their listings onto the blockchain by using Origin. Then maybe they start, getting their payments to be decentralized, then escrow, and all of the other things we're doing. And ultimately, we want marketplaces to focus on what's specific to their marketplace. Why should they need to reinvent the wheel and rebuild, escrow and payments and dispute resolution and arbitration and reputation and all of these things that are common to all of these marketplaces? We can solve a lot of these problems for them and allow them to really focus on their community and what's core to their marketplace.
Interesting. The other piece, obviously, that you guys are successful. You guys have a lot of marketplaces that sit on top of you guys. The transaction rate will be high. Have you guys thought about how you guys are successful? Ethereum could be potentially a bottleneck for you guys in terms of transaction speed, latency to transaction latency, and things like that.
Yeah, definitely something we're thinking about, for sure. I would say at a high level, we are taking a bet on Ethereum. And the main reasons we're doing that is we think it's really far ahead. They have something that's actually working on mainnet, and they have the biggest developer community. So in a lot of ways, we're really betting on the community, and we think that this is really going to grow. These scaling issues are going to be solved, and we're working very closely with the teams that are working on projects to solve these scaling issues. That being said, if it turns out that another blockchain down the road is a much better tool for us to use, then we'll certainly be ready to use it.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you guys may be building it
for us.
Right, it sounds like you guys may be building in an abstracted manner already, kind of given sort of your abstraction and solidity, where if something else comes along, you guys can swap in and swap out something new.
Yeah, exactly. And I would follow up also by saying that again, we're not going to build the next Uber tomorrow in a decentralized fashion. It's very difficult from a technological standpoint. It's really probably not possible today. But there certainly are other use cases that we find that are probably much shorter term. So essentially, lower transaction volume, higher transaction value, and then even more specifically, if it's a digital asset that's actually being transferred, then it's already kind of built into the blockchain. For example, CryptoKitties, right? You can send the CryptoKitty to somebody, and it's all contained within the ecosystem. So there's probably other examples of this. We've already seen people buying and selling Binance and Bitfinex accounts or pre-sale allocations to ICOs. There's a lot of crazy digital assets out there already being transacted. So it's possible that something like that is probably the first shorter term use case.
Yeah. Only in crypto.
Yeah.
No, that's great. That's awesome. The other question I have is also, in terms of where you guys are, the number of people. I mean, there's so many crypto companies out there. I would say, unlike you guys, majority of them are. I would be surprised if they're around 3 years or 2 years from now. When you guys kind of level up and pan out and kind of think about longevity and think about building a real business, which unfortunately a lot of people in crypto aren't thinking that way, what do you feel like are some of the 1 to 2 big challenges that keep you guys up at night?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there are a ton of challenges and a ton of risks, of course, doing what we're doing. One risk is that we're too early, right? There's still a lot that needs to be built for a lot of these visions to be realized. So that's certainly a risk, but personally, I'd rather be too early than too late. So I'm okay with that. Of course, there's all sorts of regulatory and government risk involved as well. A lot of that is up in the air. We're playing it very conservatively, working with the top legal teams, et cetera, making sure we're playing by the book. And then, of course, on the technology side, Ethereum does need to scale for this to really work the way we want it to work. So there certainly are risks from a technological perspective. But I would argue that really the biggest challenge is going to community. And the community is really what drives the value for these projects at the end of the day. We are an open source project. So is Ethereum, Bitcoin. These are open source projects that anybody could go fork, and they could fork the technology, have a community of developers that are really all working together and rowing the same direction to try to get this thing to work. So I think that's something we're trying to focus as much on as possible. That's why we're signing up a lot of partners as early as possible to get these discussions started, so that as soon as the V1 is ready, which we're targeting for kind of a Q3 timeframe, we have them ready to go. We have them lined up, and they're ready to build them. We've already gotten the momentum going.
And
so
V1,
I think the community is really it.
Yeah, and V1 in your case, by your definition, is the mainnet launch. Is that right?
Mainnet launch, exactly. Yep. We're already on testnet right now, our demo, and we should have a beta out in the next, I would say, month or two. That developers will start to be able to test out and bang on a little bit. But Q3 is basically the target for that mainnet launch.
Got it. Interesting. Out of the 40 partners that have signed up with you guys, can you name any of them, or are they sort of any theme in terms of what you're seeing, the assets that are sort of the verticals of these partners?
Absolutely. The verticals, there's surprisingly a lot of breadth. There's all sorts of different companies attacking us and understanding the value of these marketplaces. So we have everything from an education marketplace called Odom to a ride-sharing marketplace called SnagRide that focuses on longer mileage journeys. So not like, hey, take me down a couple blocks, but I'm going to a different city. So again, lower transaction volume. We also have on the traditional marketplaces side, circling back to kind of the beginning of the conversation, we have a company called Service Hero that has hundreds of thousands of users already in Southeast Asia. Yeah. And they recently partnered with us to try to start decentralizing parts of that business as well, because they see this thing coming. Another home services marketplace called Kenya, based out of Australia. They're really everywhere. We list most of them on our website, so if anybody wants to check out who we're working with, you can check out our partners page, and it's growing every day. We're doing a really good job of making sure that we're getting the word out there, as well as taking on as much inbound interest as we can get.
That's great. And for potential partners who are interested in, who heard this, listened to this, and are interested in partnering with you guys, should they just go to your site and there'll be a sign up page there?
Absolutely. Yeah, I would say go to the website. There's a form they can fill out. And then I would also encourage essentially anybody interested to check out what we're doing on GitHub. We also use Discord and do all of our engineering meetings really out in the open because we want to involve as many people. Even if you just want to lurk and just kind of see what we're doing, you're more than welcome to join. So yeah, check out our website, check out our Telegram and our Discord. You'll get a lot more information about how you can stay in the loop with what we're up to.
No, that's great. Well, John, this is awesome. I think what you guys are working on is one of the more unique ideas in the space. I think kind of taking a platform approach is a smart one. I would be very interested in. I think going back to sort of your point around challenges for your partners, right? Which is the hard part is less the technology, but more around how do you build a thriving community, right? I think it would be really interesting. I could already kind of, as you were describing that just now, I could already think all the cool network effects that could happen of all, because you could potentially allow different marketplaces to cross-pollinate, right?
Absolutely.
So,
you really hit the nail on the head there. That's definitely one of the big value propositions for marketplace partners. So if you think about it, my identity, my reputation on Uber, it doesn't mean anything to Airbnb, right? Because these are totally siloed databases of this information. So in the origin world, your identity, your reputation is going to be tied to your Ethereum wallet, and that is going to be portable across all of the marketplaces that are powered by Origin. So that, of course, makes things a little bit easier for the user, but for the actual marketplace, it really helps with things like customer acquisition, customer onboarding, etc., because you're going to have a lot more information about people. They're going to be able to sign up essentially instantly. They'll already have gone through the sign-up process, and they can go and use your marketplace without a lot of friction. So we think shared network effects is going to be a big game changer for sure.
Yeah. I mean, especially in how you guys kind of approaching the go-to-market, and I think there's some really interesting stuff once you guys are at scale that you'll be able to enable.
Yeah, definitely, and I think we are going to work very, very close with our marketplace partners at the beginning. Of course, we want to learn from them as far as what they need out of our protocols, of our developer tools, but even past that, we want to make sure to support them throughout their journey. So helping them with their cold start problem, helping them get things going early on, being their first users. We're going to definitely be ready to roll up our sleeves and work very closely with those partners.
No, that's great. And in terms of your launch, your V1 mainnet in Q3, would you launch all 40 at the same time, or would you guys kind of do a staggered launch?
So we're going to be launching our tools, and it's up to them really as far as when they're ready to do their launch. So we're certainly going to try to work pretty closely with a couple that are furthest along and see if they can kind of coincide some of their launches with us. Some of them are already, again, traditional marketplaces. It won't really be a launch in the traditional perspective. It could be more of a pilot or something like that. But as far as on our end, we are going to make sure we have a ready-to-go JavaScript library, set of smart contracts for developers to use to build a decentralized marketplace in a short amount of time.
Got it. No, that's great. Exciting times. Well, John, this is great. Anything else that I didn't ask that you think the audience ought to be aware of, ought to know?
Not a lot. I think, again, I want to reiterate that we are doing this all out in the open, and we really want to encourage people to get involved in any capacity, whether it's you want to develop a marketplace yourself, you want to contribute code to our open source repos, or you just want to be an early adopter of one of these services. We really want to get your feedback. We want you to be involved. So again, check out our demo at demo.originprotocol.com. Check out our GitHub and our Discord, and feel free to send me an email, John, Jon, @originprotocol.com.
Yeah, that's great. I will, for everyone here, I will add John's email and the demo
Yeah.
link in the descriptor of the once I upload this to YouTube, and as well as in the posting on the group, so you guys can reach out if you guys need to sign up. Now, this is great, John. Really appreciate you taking time.
Likewise, really appreciate it, and hope to see this bear fruit, and really hope everybody that is interested gets involved as well.
Yeah. No, thanks for your time. Thanks for being generous with your time. And good luck. We'll talk soon.
All right. Bye-bye. Thank
Bye.
you.